So based on all those parameters, it has been classified into three parts, that is digital, analog and hybrid computer. So these digital computers will operate on the digital data that has numbers. Then processing is slow. When it comes to digital, processing is fast because every data and information will be in zeros and ones. No need to convert. According to the principle of data handling, how the data will be handled. Everyone, welcome to the fourth session on overview of a computer. Myself Rohini TS, lecturer in computer science, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Mysuru. So before getting into today's session, let me have a recap of previous session. So in my last session, I have discussed the generations of a computer. So as I discussed earlier, so based on the technology development, we have classified the generation of a computer into 5 generations. So here you can see the tabulation form which I have given in the previous session. So when it comes to the each generation, there you have to concentrate its evolution year, that is the duration of each generation of a computer, that and all you have to concentrate, and which is the basic material that they have used, whether it has going to generate more heat or a less heat, or how will be the size of each generation computer, and whether it is cheaper or expensive. Along with that, you have to concentrate on some of the example of each generation of a computer. So when it comes to the first generation of a computer, the basic material they have used is vacuum tubes, and when it comes to the second generation, they have used transistors. In the third generation, integrated circuits, that is IC based, and when it comes to the fourth generation, very large scale integrated circuits, microprocessor, and when it comes to the fifth generation of a computer, that is present and beyond, they have used ULSI, that is ultra large scale integration microprocessor. So these are the points that you have to remember regarding the generation of a computer. Then in my today's session, I am going to discuss the classification of a computers, how the computers classified and what parameters or on what standards they are going to classify the computer. We'll see now. So when it comes to the classification of a computer, here it will be broadly classified into 3 types. So on what basis they are going to classify the computers? So we'll see now. So based on the computational method or a type or the way of technology and the process, by all these parameters, I am going to divide a computer into 3 types, that is analog computer, digital computer and hybrid computer. So this classification has been done based on these parameters, that is how it will be computational, that is what is the computational method they are going to use, and then the type along with the technology they have used, and along with that process, how it will be processed. So based on all those parameters, it has been classified into 3 parts, that is digital, analog and hybrid computer. Then which is the second method that we have regarding this classification? So here, based on the usage or a purpose, they have classified into 2 types, that is general purpose and a special purpose. So based on the purpose or a usage of that particular type of computer, it has been classified into 2 parts, that is special purpose computers and then general purpose computers. Then how the last one? So based on the size and capacity along with the performance, it is broadly classified into 4 types, that is microcomputer, minicomputer, mainframe computer and then supercomputer. So this is how the classification of computer has been takes place. Here you have to consider one thing, based on some parameter they are going to divide the computer. So this is not so restrictive. So based on the usage or based on the some parameter, we can going to divide a computers into number of classification. So we'll have a look regarding this classification of a computer now. So computer can be classified into various types. So as I told, there is no restriction regarding the classification. So based on some parameters or based on some standards, we are going to divide or we are going to classify the computer into several parts. So based on the principle of working, so and what parameters, on what standards I can divide or I can classify the computer, it could be based on the principle of working. So how the working will going to take place in each type of computer system, based on that also I can classify the computer. And then computer for individual users, whether the computer is used for the single purpose or a single individual person, or whether it is helpful for more than one people. So that will be on the basis of that also we can divide the computer. And then computer for organization, whether it is for small scale industries or whether it is for large scale industry, like that. So based on the organization or a size of that organization also, we can classify the computers into number of types. So in order to classify the computers, we can take any of the parameter. So based on that, we are going to divide the computer into several categories. So when it comes to the computer which is classified, which is based on the principle of operations. So on what basis we are classifying now? So based on the operation, what it will going to perform, on that basis we are going to classify the computer into three parts. So according to the principle of data handling, how the data will be handled. So data could be anything. It could be like image, text, numbers, any audio or video files. So how the data handling will be takes place, based on that parameter we are going to divide the computers into three parts or three types, that is analog computers, digital computer, at last we have hybrid computers. So here I am classifying the computer which is based on the operation, how the data will be handled. Based on that parameter we are dividing the computers into three categories or three types, that is analog, digital and hybrid. So we'll see what do you mean by analog computers then. So as the name indicates, analog in the sense what? The data will be in the continuous form. There will be no discrete data. It will be in the continuous form. So analog computer works upon continuous data. So then how the data must be? So here we are classifying these type of computer which is mainly based on the data handling, the type of data handling, so that here the data will be in the continuous form. So the data will be in continuous form. So analog computer will going to mainly work for the measurement rather than for calculating. The main advantage of this analog computers, we are going to use this analog computer mainly for measuring purpose rather than this counting. So these analog computers are not focusing on the computation or a counting part. It is mainly focuses on the measurement. So based on that, we are going to handle those kind of continuous data. So analog computers, that all calculations takes place in a parallel. So parallel in the sense what? It will be more than one operation will going to happen at a time. So instead of taking the data serially, or instead of performing or calculating the data serially, it will going to perform a data handling in a parallel manner, so that it will be more faster. So as I discussed in the earlier point, it is mainly focuses on the measuring rather than the counting. So with regards to that, computations are carried out with physical quantities. Then which are the physical quantities here? That is voltages, length, current and temperature. So we are not going to count the temperature, we are going to measure the temperature, isn't it? So for that purpose, we are going to use these kind of computers, that is analog computers. So the device which will going to perform or which will going to measures that quantities are called as analog devices. The devices which will going to measure that quantities are called analog devices. So here you can see the image of analog computers. So here we have a speedometer and then analog computer. It will be mainly focuses on the measurement rather than counting. So it's all about analog computers. So now let me move on to the next one, that is digital computer. So as the name indicates, digital in the sense it is not continuous data. It will be like discrete data. So here the data of these type of computers are discontinuous data, that is discrete data. So this digital computers will operate on the digital data that as numbers. So it will going to work with zeros and ones. So we all know that binary numbers, that is zeros and ones. If it is 0, then that is represented as a off. If it is 1, that is represented as 1. So whatever the value that I am going to give as a digit or input, that will be converted into zeros and ones. So based on that, it will going to perform its operations. That means it is handling the data in a binary manner. So that if I am giving 27 or 26 here, so that 26 will be converted into machine understandable form, that is to the zeros and ones. So based on that parameter, it will going to work. So here we are not giving the continuous data. The data will be discrete or a discontinuous data. So it will going to use this binary number system, that is 0 and 1. So, and I can call each number or each 0 and 1 as a bit. So whatever the value that I am going to give to this digital computer, everything will be converted to 0 and 1. Based on that value, it will going to operate. Then digital computers are much faster than the analog computers and it is more accurate. So in analog computers, we are going to get the approximate value. But when it comes to the digital computer, here I am getting the exact value, isn't it? So that analog computers are going to give the approximate value, but when it comes to the digital computer, it will going to give me the accurate value. So that these computers are much faster than the previous one, that is analog computer, and it will be more accurate than the analog computer. Then where we are going to use this digital computer? So these computers were used for the business and scientific applications. For that purpose, we are going to use the digital computers. Next we have hybrid computers. As the name indicates, hybrid in the sense what? It could be a combination of one or more. So when it comes to the types of these computers, hybrid is nothing but it is a combination of both analog computers along with the digital computers. So whatever the characteristics is there for analog and digital, so those two characteristics can be incorporated to this hybrid computer. Getting? So hybrid computers are the combination of analog and digital computers. So they are going to take the characteristics of both type of computers. So here they accept both the analog and digital data for the processing. So what you are doing here, so we are going to use these kind of computers for data handling. So what type of data I can give? So I can give either continuous data or a discrete data. So if I am giving continuous data as my input, then it will going to incorporate the characteristics of analog computer. If I am giving the discrete values or a discontinuous data, at that time it will going to incorporate the digital computers value or digital computers characteristics. So we all know that hybrid is a combination of both the type of computers. So along with that, analog computers are mainly focuses on the measurement rather than the calculation. So when I'm using this hybrid computers, it will going to incorporate the measurement part from the analog computer and it will going to incorporate counting part from the digital computer. So how it will be integrated or how it will be combined, it will going to take the feature of measurement from the analog computers and counting feature from the digital computers. So for the computational purpose, it will going to use the analog computers and for the storage purpose, it will going to go with digital memories. So this is how the hybrid computers will going to work. So let me take one real-time example in order to make you understand how the hybrid computer will going to work. Okay. So let me take one example like a hospital. So there what we are going to do, so they are going to check the patients. So they are going to monitor its BP by making use of analog computers. So that is, they are going to measure the blood pressure count, right? They are going to measure by making use of this analog computers. Then what we are going to get as a resultant, that will be in the digital form. Or else you can also take one more example, that is ECG. So in order to perform that ECG, they are going to use both analog and digital, right? So for that process, they are going to work with analog computers. When they are producing the resultant, at the time what we are going to get, that will be in the form of digital, right? Whatever the data and it will going to have, everything will be converted to zeros and ones, but when it is processed and at the time we are getting the output, that will be in the human readable form. So here they have incorporated both the characteristics of analog as well as the digital. This is how the hybrid computers will going to work. So here we can see some of the difference between analog computers and digital computers. So when it comes to the analog computers, it is continuous values of data, and when it comes to the digital, the data are discontinuous or discrete values of the data will be given, and it will going to give me the approximate result. So not so accurate, but when it comes to the digital, it is more accurate than the analog computer. Then processing is slow. When it comes to digital, processing is fast, because every data and information will be in zeros and ones, no need to convert, so that it will be more faster and it has limited use. So these type of computers are mainly used for the specific purpose. But when it comes to the digital computers, so you can take laptops, computers, desktop as an example for digital computers, right? So they are more versatile. It has the ability to perform more than one kind of task. Then they have small memory and less reliable. So we cannot trust this analog computer because it will going to give me the approximate result. But when it comes to the digital computer, it is more reliable and it has large memory. So these are the difference between analog and digital. So here you have to understand on what basis, on the data handling basis, we are going to divide the computer into three parts or three types, that is analog, digital and hybrid. So here we are classifying on the basis of purpose or a usage. So on the basis of purpose or a usage, we are classifying the computers into two types, that is general purpose computer and a specific purpose computers. So as the name indicates, general purpose in the sense, we can use that kind of computer for more than one purpose, that is not so specific and that is not so sophisticated. But it is specific purpose in the sense or a special purpose in the sense, these type of computers are mainly designed to perform a special task or a particular task. So when it comes to the general purpose computers, so these are mainly generated or designed to perform any range of tasks. So if I take the example of desktop or a laptop, we can use that laptops and desktop for gaming also, for entertainment purpose also. I can use the same for in order to give some print, and I can also watch the movies, and I can also work with my office work. So is it any specific purpose it is developed? No, because that is generalized. So we can perform any range of work, that is regarding general purpose. So when it comes to the specific purpose or a special purpose, these types of computers are mainly designed in order to work with a special purpose or a specific purpose or specific type of task. So you can take the example of blood pressure monitoring system. So in that they have designed only for that purpose only. So can I measure the temperature by making use of that BP monitoring machine? No. So it is mainly designed only for the special purpose or a specific purpose. So that is the difference between general purpose and specific purpose. So based on the usage, how we are going to use the computer, whether it is generalized or whether it is working or developing only for the special purpose, on the basis it has classified into two parts. Yes, we have a next classification, that is classification which is based on the configuration. So on what parameters we are going to use in order to divide or in order to classify based on the configuration? Here on the basis of its performance and its size along with the cost and then capacity, storage capacity of particular type of computer, the digital computers are classified into 4 types. So we all know that. So based on the performance or its working procedure, we are going to divide into 3 parts, that is analog, digital and hybrid. So when it comes to the classification, which is based on its configuration, so when it comes to the configuration, there I am going to consider some other parameters like its performance and its size and its cost along with the capacity. We are going to divide the digital computers. We are dividing the digital computers into 4 parts, that is microcomputer, minicomputer, mainframe computer and supercomputer. So we'll see one by one right now. So when it comes to the microcomputer, so microcomputer is also known as personal computer or a PC. So that is desktop computers. So it is mainly used for the single person. So that is for personal work they are going to use, or they are going to have these kind of computers, that is microcomputers. So then when it was invented in the year 1970s. So in the 70s it has been invented. So what the number of processor we are going to use? So based on that processor we are going to calculate the performance of a computer, right? So here the number of processor in the microcomputer is either 1 or 2. So we are going to incorporate either 1 or 2 microprocessor when we are developing this microcomputers. So then what this microcomputer consists of? So it has input devices, output devices along with the storage devices. So if it has combination of input, output and storage media, so that I can call that as a peripheral devices. You have to remember that point. Peripheral device in the sense it will be a combination of input, output and secondary storage media. So this microprocessor also has all these features. So user friendly in the sense there will be more interaction between the user and computer. So it is cheaper in cost than another type of computer system and it is more user friendly. Then what are the examples that we have for these kind of microcomputers? That is, you can take the example of desktop computers and laptop, palm tops as a example for microcomputer. So this is regarding microcomputer. Then which is the next one? That is mini computers. So then when it was invented, so it was invented in the year 1960. It was earlier to the microcomputer. So because it was invented in the year 1960, so mini computers are larger in size and more powerful than the personal computers. So how the size will be? So as I discussed earlier, on what parameters we are dividing the computer? Based on its performance, size and its cost, and based on this capacity or a storage capacity of the computer system we are dividing. So you have to concentrate on all those points. So when it comes to the mini computer, the computers are larger and it is more powerful than the personal computers. How the capacity of a computer is calculated? That means the performance of a computer has been calculated based on the number of instructions it is processed per second. Then what about the performance of these type of computer? So it can execute 5 million instructions per second. So how we are going to find the speed of the computer? That is MIPS or a BIPS, that is million instruction per second or a billion instruction per second. So when I'm working with this mini computer, it has a capacity to execute 5 million instruction per second. So its capacity of processing is more. Then until which extent? That is, it can serve up to 4,000 connected users simultaneously. So if the 4,000 users put a same request at the time, this mini computer is able to perform the operation. That is biggest advantage of this mini computers. And how the mini computers will be accessed then? So it will be accessed by making use of a personal computer along with the input and output devices. If a system has input and output devices, then that is known as what? Terminal. So if it has monitor and a keyboard, that is input and output device must be there, so that I can call that as a terminal. So with the help of that terminal, I can access the mini computers. So I can get my work done by making use of all these these things. Then which are the example which comes under mini computers? That is Digital Alpha, VAX800 and AS400. So these are the example computers which comes under the mini computers. So then where we are going to use this mini computers? When the data processing is required, at the time we are going to use this mini computers. Along with that, we can also use this type of computers in the MNCs like small and medium sized companies in order to provide the centralized storage of information. So in that context, we are going to use this mini computers. So here you can have a look of mini computers. So these are the terminals. If it has monitor and keyboard as a devices, then I can call that as a terminal. So with the help of that terminal, I can access these mini computers. So it will going to provide me a centralized storage of the information. Then which is the next computer? That is mainframe computers. So it will be larger in size when it compares to the previous two types of computer. So mainframe computers were introduced in 1975. So when it was invented or introduced, that is in the year of 1975, and it is very large computer. So on the size, we are dividing this computer, right? Then how the size of this mainframe computer? It is larger in size when it compares to the previous two types of computer, and it is more powerful. So very important thing, it is more powerful than the mini computer and microcomputer. So mainframe computers are mainly used to perform multiple tasks and will going to serve the multiple users. So that you can see here, it is mainly designed to perform multiple tasks. That means more than one task can be performed by making use these type of computer, and in order to serve the multiple user at a time. If a multiple user sending the request for the processing, this mainframe computer has a ability to perform more than one type of task. That is, multiple tasks can be happened with mainframe computer. So based on the process also we are dividing this computer, right? So then what is its processing speed? So it can execute 16 million instruction per second. Just imagine, in a second it has the ability to execute or to process 16 million instruction per second. So then what are the example which comes under this mainframe computer? That is CDC 6600, NAC 610 and DEC 10. So these are the computers which comes under the category of mainframe computer. And here also you can see the image of this mainframe computer. So in order to access this mainframe computer, I need to have the PC or a personal computer. I have to take an help of microcomputers. So with the help of that microcomputer, I can access this mainframe computer. Getting? So then what are the uses of this mainframe computer? Where we are going to use these kind of computer? So it will be used in the large organization in order to store the bulk amount of data. So there will be centralized data storage method. So based on that, we are going to use these kind of, that is, we are going to use the mainframe computers in the large organization. So we cannot use these mainframe computer as our requirement because it is sophisticated to temperature and its dust, anything. So normal person without computer knowledge cannot work with these kind of computers. That is, in order to work with or in order to operate the mainframe computers, then there must be a qualified and trained operator required in order to process the data by making use of this mainframe computers. So they have wide range of peripheral attached. So that peripheral in the sense, as I told earlier, it will be a combination of input-output along with the storage devices, because it will not going to process 1 or 2 instruction per second. So it will going to perform or it will going to execute trillion million of instruction per second, so that it has require wide variety of peripheral component. So they can use wide variety of software, and as I told earlier, so in order to work with this or in order to operate mainframe computers, that cannot be operated by a normal person and it is not so user friendly. So if you want to operate, then you must be qualified and trained person. So mainly mainframe computers are used for mathematical calculation. So these are the applications or a usage of mainframe computer. So what is the last one that we have? That is supercomputer. As the name indicates, it is super by nature. Why it is super? We'll see now. So the supercomputers were introduced in the year 1980. So which is the fastest computer as of now? That is supercomputer. It is the fastest computer. It was invented in the year 1980. So this supercomputer is very biggest in size. Why it is so big? Because it has so much computational part within it, and we are going to have much larger peripheral. It will going to insert, it will going to have, so that it will be biggest in size and most expensive. It is most expensive than any other type of computers. So these type of computers are very sophisticated. In order to work with all these type of computer, whether it could be mainframe or a supercomputer, then qualified and trained persons are required in order to work with these kind of computers. So as I told, it is more sophisticated and complex and advanced computer. With regards to the storage capacity, so it has very large storage capacity. Supercomputer has very large storage capacity. And coming to the processing speed, so what will be the processing speed of the supercomputer? It will going to process or execute trillions of instructions per second. It will going to execute trillions of instructions per second. So, and it is sophisticated, not so user friendly. It is costlier and it is bigger in size, and it will require a trained person. So then when we are going to use these kind of computers, so when it comes to the uses of computer, so for the weather forecasting or for the animations, in order to create any animated movie or Hollywood movies, at that time we are going to work with this supercomputers. Then nuclear energy research, for that purpose also we are going to use this supercomputer. Then space science and weapons and missile design, along with petroleum exploration. So these are the applications or fields where we are going to use the supercomputer. Then which is the India's supercomputer? Let me know. So when it comes to the example, IBM Roadrunner, IBM Blue Gene and Param Padma are the examples for supercomputers. Then here you have to observe one thing, supercomputing in India. So which is the first supercomputer which is invented or manufactured in India? That is Param 8000 was the India's first supercomputer. It is the first supercomputer of India, that is Param 8000. So it's all about today's session. I hope you understood today's session regarding the classification of a computer. So on what basis we are going to classify the computer, that and all you have to concentrate. So in my next session, I will be discussing regarding the applications of a computer. That means the fields where we are going to use the computer. So whether it will be in the field of education, agriculture or science and research, or educational purpose, entertainment and news purpose. So I will be discussing the applications of a computers in my next session. It's all about today's session. I'm going to meet you in the next session. Until that, keep learning, keep on growing. Thank you very much.